Right, so you can see now that the rear of the bike is just taken apart. It's one large piece of plastic that holds the registration light and the registration light tail bulb right here, see? Two plastic little kind of, I'm not sure exactly what they're called, lugs I suppose. They fit into kind of rubber O-rings here and they pull out, and when you're actually pulling the plastic out you do feel as if you're going to break it. It's that kind of brittle, if you remember videotapes, that kind of plastic, so you need to be a little bit careful when you're trying to take it out, especially when you live somewhere that's a bit cold and damp, because the plastic just won't be malleable, and given that the bike is now 13 years old, you know, some of that plastic is getting a little bit on the brittle side. However, without all that plastic, you can now see that the rear tyre, you can see the whole thing, and it's pretty well squared off. There's not a whole pile of thread left on it really. It doesn't look too bad, but then when you get up close you can see the wear markers there. Just in here there's not a whole pile of depth there, so there you go. Time for it to be replaced. And in order to do that, there's a couple of items that you need to attend to under here. So we're underneath the exhaust, and we're looking from the back of the bike, and up here you see the brake disc, brake caliper just up here at the very top, and you've the axle pinch bolt to undo, so that's the first thing, and that's the size 12. It's pretty easy, and you should make sure that there's a little bit of copper grease on that when you put it back in to make it easier to remove the next time. Then of course you have the big axle bolt itself, and that is a size, I think it's a size 22. The Honda toolkit gives you all the sizes for these, although I'm aware that most bikes bought used won't have the toolkit, so you should probably have your own. This one is a size 14 up here. This is your brake caliper torque bolt. So there's a torque arm, not quite a torque arm, but there's a large piece under here which bolts the brake caliper to the swing arm, stops it from rotating with braking force. So you got to take that one off. A socket won't get in here, unfortunately. Now this is not the right size socket, but just to give you an example. See? Exhaust is in the way. So Honda's own toolkit has a flat piece like this, and it just goes in like that. Lovely. And you might have to get a hammer to it, because that'll be well torqued up. Size 14 spanner will do the same job. And then it's just a matter of loosening up your axle bolt here, and we're going to have to get that brake caliper to swing around towards this area of the disc. We've already taken out the pads, which you can just about access using a fairly long Allen key, which actually goes in up here, which is difficult to see because the light is not great, but let's try with this. So the Allen key goes in here. That's just near the top of the video there, see? There you go. Goes in here, and you can just about get that bolt out and get the pads to fall out. Good idea to give that caliper a clean while it's out as well. So we're going to actually drag that caliper back towards the back of the wheel, and there's just enough hose to allow it to slip off the disc, and then we'll be able to get the wheel out once we have the axle out. Yes, I know, for the eagle-eyed among you, I really shouldn't be dangling a brake caliper by its hose, but it's just for the purposes of this really quick video. As you can see, we have removed the wheel, and there's the spline drive. It's full of molly grease, looks in good order. That was only replaced actually just at the start of the whole lockdown period. Actually, that whole swing arm was given a lick of paint and a bit of a clean, and it's still a bit ratty, but you know, the steel is solid. I gave it a good examination, and it's just, you know, it's just heartening to know, I suppose, that it's going to last another few years at least, because apparently when these steel swing arms fail, they do so from the inside rather slowly. And I've heard stories of, well, one story of a bike leaning fairly straight up on its centre stand because basically the swing arm was starting to implode, and that's not what we wanted. Also, giving it a really quick and dirty coat of paint and a good inspection, you know, that means a lot. But anyway, back to doing the wheels. We took the wheel off. What you have to do with the brake caliper here is, this was on top of the wheel, so actually up around here, this area. And what you have to do is kind of push it forward in the wheel first, and then you can slip out the torque bolt that's just here. So you can push that. It won't come out all the way because the exhaust is in the way, but it'll come out enough so that when the axle is removed, you can actually wiggle it until it moves forward, get the wheel off, and then pull it all the way around. As I said earlier, the hose will feel quite tight, but it will come off. And it's dangling here now, so I'm actually going to suspend it with a bit of string or something like that. But the wheel is off, and it's time to move on to the far less complicated front wheel once we support the engine with a jack and some wood. Great.